Committed to heaven. Here's a short story about Angelo, a gentle helper at the Sane Asylum, an oasis where frightened thoughts were welcomed with infinite patience and returned to reality. The Sane Asylum stood beyond the noisy edge of town, surrounded by palm trees, quiet fountains, and gardens of white flowers. Unlike ordinary institutions, it did not lock anyone away. It offered shelter from the mind's distorted perceptions. Above the entrance were the words, "Nothing to condemn, only truth to remember." Angelo worked there as a comforter. His white uniform carried a small golden patch shaped like angel wings. New arrivals often assumed the wings meant he had special powers. Angelo would smile and say, "They only remind me not to stand above anyone." Each morning, he walked through halls with unusual names. The corridor of conclusions, the ward of what if, the gallery of distorted mirrors, the department of separate realities. The patients were not people. They were thought patients. Some arrived shouting, some hid in silence, some wore convincing disguises and introduced themselves as facts. One morning, a thought patient named I Am Unworthy was brought into the reception room. "I have proof," it cried. "I have memories, comparisons, mistakes, and witnesses." Angelo invited it to sit beside the fountain. "We do not argue with thought patients here," he said, "because you know I'm right." "No, because fighting an unreal thought gives it a reality it never had." The thought patient became confused. "What happens to me now?" "You rest until you are willing to be seen differently." On another day, everyone must approve of me arrived exhausted from years of running door to door. "If people disapprove," it gasped, "something terrible will happen." Angelo offered it a cup of stillness. "What are you protecting?" he asked. "My safety." "Has approval made you safe?" The thought patient looked down. "No. It has made me afraid of everyone." Angelo placed a hand over the winged patch on his uniform. "Then perhaps safety does not come from the world agreeing with you." The thought patient softened and dissolved into a quieter question. "What does love think of me?" The most crowded room in the asylum was called the Image Ward. Its walls were covered with mirrors that stretched, shrank, darkened, and divided whatever stood before them. One mirror showed weakness. Another showed superiority. Another showed sickness. Another showed a lonely body, separated from every other body. The thought patients inside pointed at the reflections and cried, "There, that is reality!" Angelo gently covered each mirror with a white cloth. "What are you doing?" They protested. "Giving you a moment without your interpretations." "But without the images, how will we know who we are?" "Perhaps the images are why you have forgotten." The room became silent. Without distorted reflections to study, the thought patients felt a presence deeper than appearance, quiet, whole, and unchanged. Angelo called this association with reality. Reality, he explained, was not another picture to believe. It was the loving thought of God beneath every fearful interpretation. One afternoon, a heavy, gray thought patient named Depression arrived and lay down in the garden. "I have no energy," it whispered. "Nothing matters." Angelo did not tell it to cheer up. He sat nearby without trying to repair it. After a while, he asked, "What function have you forgotten?" The thought patient did not answer, so Angelo waited. The asylum was famous for its infinite patience, and its infinite patience. Finally, the gray thought patient said, "I thought my function was to succeed, be admired, and become important. And when those goals failed, I believed I had no purpose." Angelo pointed toward a dry flower bed. "What if your function is simpler?" The thought patient looked at the thirsty flowers. Angelo handed it a watering can. "Try extending care without asking what it will earn you." The thought patient watered one flower, then another. As the dry earth darkened, a little warmth returned. "My function is to give what I wish to remember," it said. "And what do you wish to remember?" "Love." The gray thought patient did not vanish immediately, but it no longer seemed solid. Purpose had opened a window. At sunset, Angelo entered the asylum's central room. It contained no furniture, images, diagnoses, or clocks. Only light. This was the miracle room. Every thought patient was eventually invited there, but none was forced to enter. Above the doorway was written, "Forgiveness is the return to sanity." Inside, thought patients were not punished, analyzed forever, or improved into better versions of themselves. They were simply brought into the presence of love and asked, "Are you a thought God would think?" If the answer was no, the thought was released. That evening, Angelo found a thought patient named Fear of God trembling outside the room. "If I enter," it said, "I may disappear." Angelo nodded. "What is false cannot survive reality. Then I should run. You have been running for a very long time. Has it brought you peace?" The thought patient began to cry. "No." Angelo opened the door. "I will walk with you." Together, they stepped into the light. For one instant, every hallway, ward, mirror, and frightening conclusion fell away. There was no asylum, no illness, no separate thought patient, only a mind resting in the loving thoughts of God. When Angelo returned to the garden, the night sky was full of stars. He touched the small wings on his uniform and remembered that a comforter does not heal by fixing what appears broken. He offers a quiet invitation to abide where wholeness has never been lost. Before closing the gate, Angelo changed the sign above the entrance. It now read, "Committed to heaven, infinite patience welcome." Heaven is a state of mind. I am responsible for the direction of my thinking. May we sing, rest, and dance our way home together.